Hello, in part 5 we're going to look at the manufacturing overhead budget. This is the budget that comes after the direct materials budget, and it accumulates the overhead, the manufacturing overhead for the quarter. Now, indirect materials, indirect labor, and other items are part of our variable costs in our manufacturing overhead budget. If we go over to our assumptions and we look under overhead, we'll see that indirect materials are considered to be 0.75 or 75 cents per unit. Indirect labor is 90 cents per unit, and other costs are 50 cents. Our fixed costs are going to include salaries of $5,000, depreciation of $2,000, and other fixed costs of $2,500. Now, all of these costs will be cash outflows except for depreciation. Depreciation does not represent a cash outflow. However, it is part of the cost of the product, so we will need to include it, and then we're going to deduct it for the actual cash payments. So let's get started. Indirect materials. It says that they are going to be 75 cents per unit. So we're going to start with the units to be produced times, and remember, when we go over to access one of our assumptions, we use F4 so that we can copy it across. Notice those dollar signs got put into the equation. Now we can copy it across for February and March. Indirect, we're going to again start with our units to be produced times 90 cents is our indirect labor cost. F4, enter, and then the other items equals, and we pick up our units to be produced times our 50 cents per unit. Don't forget our F4 and enter. Now we're going to total our costs, which are these three here. So we're going to use auto sum. And notice the box is automatically drawn for us, but if it wasn't the way we wanted it, we could change it and highlight what we want. Enter. Now, fixed costs. Salaries, we said, are going to be $5,000 per month. And since they're going to stay the same each month, we just click on F4 and we'll be able to copy them across. Now we need to pick up depreciation, which is $2,000 a month, F4. And finally, our other items, which is $2,500 per month. F4 and enter. Auto sum, and that's our fixed cost. So 4,558 is our variable cost, 9,500 is our fixed cost. Add the two together, 4,558 plus 9,500, and that's our total overhead. Now remember, I said we're going to take out depreciation at the end. For income purposes, for cost of goods sold purposes, our total overhead is 14,058. But for cash flows, we're going to remove, so equals, pick up our depreciation, we're going to remove our depreciation. So we're going to take the total overhead minus the depreciation, and that's our cash payment. That's going to go into our cash budget. Now on this one, we've got all of this completed, and we can take it across for January, February, March. The quarter, we just need to auto sum across, hit enter, and then we can copy that down. And then you can just copy your sum here across if you wish. And then auto sum here. Copy that down. And then we can just copy this over. And then finally our last section, we just need to copy the equation over here. And then auto sum our depreciation. Now notice our box went up, but we want to pick up the depreciation for the 3 months. So I drew a new box, enter. And then our last equation goes here. And if you want to test what you've done, this I've calculated by taking if you look at the cell, I've taken the total overhead minus the depreciation. To cross-check, we can auto-sum our 3 months, and these two amounts here are the same. Now, the other thing we need to do in our overhead budget is we need to determine our overhead rate per unit. The one that we're going to use for our cost of goods sold is for the quarter. Now, our overhead rate is the total overhead costs. Now, that includes depreciation. So we're going to pick up this 43,464 and divide by the total number of units for the quarter, 6960, and we get $6.24 per unit. This we will use in our cost of goods sold calculation. I hope this demonstration has helped you better understand the overhead budget.